Hi, welcome. So today I'm going to show you all how to get any desired shape that you'd like, whether it be stiletto, almond, coffin, or square, or anything else you can think of. So this video will help with any shape that you're trying to achieve. So let's dive in. So I'm starting by using my dehydrator. I prepped off camera, I'm sorry. You guys can go watch one of my previous videos. I dedicated a video to how to prep the cuticle, but basically I did that and then I removed the shine from the nail gently with a hand file, and I'm just going in with the dehydrator on each nail to remove any oil, helps to prevent lifting. Once I'm done with this, I'm using my primer and I'm doing just a light, a very thin coat of the primer. Alright, so I'm just gonna do that for each nail. I speed up the video here a little bit just for time's sake. You guys get the gist. We're just brushing on the nail, so speed that part up a little bit. And again, I do it for each nail. And then I'm gonna move on to applying the acrylic. So I'm using a bead of acrylic here in the cuticle area, and I'm pulling it down to the center of the nail. And this is the part where we get into shaping. So the first thing I learned is that it's best to have a self-drying acrylic like the one I'm using from Kiara Sky. This is not a sponsored video, that's just one of the acrylics that I like to use. You can use that one. I know Young Nails also has self-drying acrylics, but that is a big help when you're trying to get the perfect shape. Another tip I have is when you're applying the acrylic, you want to kind of shape as you go. So as you can see here, I'm almost creating a square shape as I'm applying the acrylic while it's still, wet. So I'm using that as a method to make it easier for me once it does dry, so that it dries, almost in the right shape. So as you can see, the nail is more or less square-ish. So I'm just gonna take that form off, and you can use tips also, it doesn't really matter. I just like to use forms. We're just gonna use that same concept for the coffin. You're going back and forth from side to side, and of course the cuticle is a huge part of it as well, but you're gonna just go back and forth from side to side, creating that shape as you go as best as you can. And that's pretty much it. It just makes it so much easier. Once your acrylic dries, you can just kind of clean up the edges, make sure that it's not looking too stank, and then that's pretty much it. Another thing we'll dive into a little bit is the apex, because the apex of the nail is also gonna give it a certain look based on the shape that you're using. You wanna make sure your apex is on point, no pun intended. You wanna make sure that is also considered while you're doing this. So I'll show you guys in a second what I mean by that. But I'm pretty much doing the same thing for the almond shape, shaping as I go. For this one, of course, you're not going, straight up like I did with the square and the coffin. It's not going to be a straight line, obviously, because it's almond shaped, it's more rounded. But believe it or not, I feel, at least in my opinion, these are a little easier to shape because you don't have to necessarily worry about getting every single line straight. You're kind of just going along, going with the flow. Like I'm doing here, still going side to side, but they meet right at the top. So that's kind of different. And, you'll feel it when you're doing that shape if that's something that you like or that you want to do. And the almond and the stiletto are pretty similar. Side to side, same thing, but they do meet at the tip or, at the point, whatever. So these are a little easier for me, at least. I don't know, tell me what you guys think. What's easier for you? I, for some reason, got the hang of this pretty pretty quickly compared to the square in the coffin for some reason. But I like all the shapes. I'm not really into just one. And honestly, after this video, I kind of just like the stilettos. I don't know why. I've never worn them, so now that I have it on my pinky, I'm just looking at it like, ooh, girl. But anyways, so we're gonna use an E-file to do the rest of our shaping pretty much. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to the apex. So you can see that I'm scraping off the edges, you know, making sure that it's, you know, nothing is hanging off, that it looks just like the shape that it's supposed to look like. A tip I learned with using the E-file is that you can just hold it like I'm holding it here, which is gonna help to just make that easier for you instead of holding it vertically, if that makes sense. So this is what I'm talking about when I mention the apex. Right here where your natural nail is, you know, where your finger is, that little area, if you can see what I'm talking about right here, that area is where you want to make sure your apex is aligned with the shape that you're doing. So you want to try to make it blend in as much as possible. So I'm using a hand file now to just clean it up a little more. And that point right there is going to be your guideline. So you're going to use that point as a guideline to blend in the shape. If you don't do that, it can come out looking a little weird, almost like a pentagon or something like that. So that's what I do, just with a hand file at the very end. I just kind of clean it up. For stilettos, I've made them too sharp in the past before when I've just practiced with them. And you don't want to hurt yourself or anyone else. You know, if you're a mommy, you want to try to have a little bit more of a rounded tip at the very top of your stiletto. That'll help you. And then I'm just gonna buff with a file and just go in with my top coat. So I'm sure you guys know how to do that. If not, you know, feel free to ask. I don't mind helping you guys with that as well. But I'm top coating with the Beetles top gel. It is a shiny top gel. You can use whatever you want. Obviously, that's not even about this video. So whatever floats your boat. And I'm using a UV LED lamp to cure those for about 60 seconds, and this is what they look like. So I hope this video helped. Please feel free to comment or ask questions, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.